Your hair has changed. Your appearance now is what we call residual self-image. It is the mental projection of your digital self.
This isn't real.
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
It is a profound honor to welcome back to the show for the fourth time, David Icke, a man who needs no introduction. He is a passionate advocate of freedom. He's been writing books for years that have accurately foretold the world that we are living in right now. He's an individual that had the courage to speak out when few other voices were even there. So, David, thank you so much for being a light of truth and a passionate freedom advocate. Thank you.
I don't know any other way, Brian. And I mean, you know this, of course. Once you start to get an idea of what's going on and the level of deceit, there's no walking away. This is why I found it hard to comprehend people. You know, I've been doing this now 35 years, and I've seen people come into this arena and be flavor of the month for a time and then disappear. I mean, what do you mean you've disappeared? Because once you're on this path, you're on this path, for me anyway.
Well, I'm curious, how are you able to continue to call out all the darkness inside all these malicious things that are happening without that having completely weigh upon yourself? Because I'll never forget one of the lessons you taught me is that you'd said that all people are points of attraction of infinite consciousness. So I always have that in mind. When somebody asks me, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm an infinite point of infinite consciousness." But because you have to focus your attention on these dark things, and because of that, how does that impact you? Does your frequency, does your vibration lower itself when you're engaging these things? How do you protect yourself when you are revealing all these truths?
Well, that's an interesting question. The more you become conscious, the more you become the observer, and the more you realize that this is a manipulated dream, what I call an induced dream. We are downloading and decoding information all the time. We might get into that, which induces the dream of being where we think we are. And the more consciousness you tap into, the more you become the observer of the dream instead of a player in the dream. It's like instead of being on the stage as an actor in the drama, you are in the audience observing it. And it's like, you know, if you have a dream that is the normal kind of dream, then you get pulled in emotionally and mentally, and you can wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat saying, "I've had a nightmare," because you've experienced the dream as real, and thus you have been mentally and emotionally engaged in the dream you think is real. But then you have these things they call lucid dreams. I have many of them, where you are in a dream, but you know it's a dream. So you become an observer of the dream rather than a player in the dream. And therefore, you're not being attached emotionally and mentally to the dream because you're observing it. And, the more the years have passed, the more that's how I've interacted with the world. It doesn't mean you don't care, quite the opposite. It means that you can see things that you can't see if you're just in the myopia of the dream. You see how the dots connect. You see how things are not as that appears, that shows you as they appear to be. So I come from the perspective, the self-identity, and I think this is absolutely vital. I think this is the awakening, personally, that I am consciousness. I am a state of being aware. I am an expression of all awareness, without a body, without even a soul, which I say is an astral phenomenon. I am simply awareness. And when you're coming from that perspective, you don't get pulled into the drama, and I would say the illusion of being human. Human is an experience, it's not an I. The I is the consciousness having the experience. And again, if you self-identify with being that consciousness, you're having the experience, yes, but you're observing the experience. You're not getting completely caught and mesmerized by it, as most people do. Because, and why wouldn't they? Because if you look at a human life and the information it receives to form perceptions, from cradle to grave, it's being bombarded with a certain version of reality. It can be that this world is all there is, life's a bitch and then you die. Or it can be you're going to be judged by some judgmental God, depending on the religion you believe in. But that is the myopia, the groupthink that holds you in the drama, that holds you in the dream. And I think one of the things is that we take life too seriously. We do and think rather than be. And what I mean by that is, all these different religious and spiritual philosophies and techniques, and people must believe whatever they want to believe, but it's all about kind of working on yourself, working through your karma, working through this, working through that, going on a quest to find yourself. And that's fine. I mean, people must do it the way they want to do it. But for me, it's a complicated process that doesn't need to be. From my own experience, that's all I can talk from, is that your self-identity is what dictates your reality. It's what dictates your frequency, thus dictates your reality. So if you are caught in the illusion of the this five sense world, which is so tiny, it's laughable in terms of frequency, and you self-identify the I with the labels of a human life, and you think that is who I am. Hello, nice to meet you. Hello, who are you? And you'll give them your name, your location of birth, maybe, or your job, your religion, whatever. You won't say to them, oh, I'm all that is, has been, and ever can be, having a human experience. And the other guy says, so am I. Thought I recognized you. It's a completely different level of interaction. And once you fall into the I am my human labels, then other people with different human labels can be played off against you and divide and rule.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it. Were you listening to me, Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress?
And we can have a situation where it's possible for the few to control the many, because the many are so busy fighting with each other and seeking to impose their belief systems on each other, instead of realizing that these belief systems are just different experiences, different perceptions within the same infinite flow of consciousness. So it's a completely different way of seeing the world. And I'm not, sitting cross-legged on a mountain here. saying, I've sussed it all, and I never get pulled in or anything like that. It's been a process, and people talk about awakening, Ryan. I think it's deprogramming. I think we already are awake at that level of our awareness that knows the nature of the true I, the infinite I. We're already awake, but that which is has its attention focused in this human band of frequency, that's what it is, has become detached in terms of influence from that level of awareness that that knows its true nature. And it's been systematically done. I mean, when you, like I say, when you come into the world, you go through a human life, you're bombarded with, whether it's the education system, whether it's your parents before that who have been through the same education system, whether it's the global media, whatever, they're bombarding you with information of a very limited nature. Science too, mainstream science, mainstream medicine, all of it. They're bombarding you with a certain perception of reality through the information you receive, that is persuading you that you're either just a cosmic accident with a 70 years and 10 and a bye-bye, good night, lights out, or you're subject to some judgmental God. And basically that's the choice that people are given. And if you fall for that, then you are in this world and you are of it. And you get your information to form your perceptions from the world that you are, quote, in. Whereas when you change your self-identity to I am consciousness, I am awareness, I am ultimately all awareness, then that self-identity is what? It's an expanded self-identity. It expands out of I am Bill Bloggs, who drives a bus for a living, to I am consciousness. And that expansion of awareness, self-identity, takes you deeper and deeper into the field of consciousness, and you become more and more conscious because you're tapping into more and more consciousness. And so that which is behind human control wants to invert that, and has done it brilliantly, wants to invert that so we become more and more myopic in the way that we see ourselves. And so, for instance, in the world that we've moved into, self-identity is now down to the fine detail of your sexuality. It's like the BBC apparently has produced 100 different genders. Right. So who are you? Well, I'm a this, that, and the other. LGBT, whatever, the letters get longer and longer. No, that's your experience currently. What you are is consciousness. And it's that veil of forgetfulness that's been put over human awareness to such an extent that holds us in the perceptual box, because the whole conspiracy to enslave humanity, which is getting more and more bloody obvious, is about controlling perception. Control perception, you control behavior.
Appreciate it, Dave. I love your answer, and just want to come back with a few things. One of them is our mutual friend who's no longer with us, Stuart Wilde. He spoke so highly of you. He used to always talk so highly of you, and I every time he mentioned your name a number of times in his teachings, and he always thought you had a lot of great energy. He had this one quote said, "Seriousness is the disease of the ego," and he was always on the path to try to reach higher dimensions. But I loved your answer that people who identify as the human state or their point of attraction is through the human eyes. They're subject to relating with other humans, but because you focus your attention on the oneness of being the observer and be completely immersed in that, you have a higher realm of perception. Why is it that if you focus your point of attention on something that is beyond the human world, that even being in that vibration, we still have to deal with the human reality? I just don't understand. I thought that if we had a different vibration, we would only come in contact with people or situations that would match our vibrational frequency. Is there any way to do that? And also,
Yeah,
okay.
that's interesting. You see, I've been saying for decades now that it's my view that this world of human is a place where vastly different states of consciousness can interact because of what we call the human body. So the human body is the vehicle that allows our consciousness, at whatever level it is, to experience this reality. Our consciousness, all consciousness, is vibrating too quickly to interact with tapping these keys or whatever in the human world. So we take on this outer shell to interact. So I can pick that up and put it down because my outer energetic field, information field, that's what the body is, I would say, is in the same frequency band as that which I want to interact with. And it's my feeling. In my new book, The Reveal, it's the vast spectrum of dot connecting, which goes deeply into the afterlife and that whole other reality where near-death experiences experience that when the body dies briefly and then is restored to function. That's level that what people call the astral level, the next dimension, basically, that intersperses this one. I say that, the body there, the outer shell that allows the interaction, is what we call the soul. And beyond that is the true I, which I call spirit. I mean, just a term. And that is a state of complete awareness that you are just awareness. You're a state of being aware. Because we look around and we see people in bodies all the time, we become obsessed with bodies. You're in one body, you're in this body, you're in another body, but ultimately we are awareness. And these bodies, particularly this one, can become an enormous trap if we fall for the illusion that this is who we are. It's a vehicle to experience this reality. And so the awakening is to awaken beyond the body, because one of the things I say in The Reveal, and I've had this kind of idea for a long time now, is that the body, when we enter the body itself has a program. Because I say this realm is a trap. Infinity
Great.
lies beyond it. This is a trap for many and various reasons I go into, but it's to entrap our awareness in a false sense of identity, basically, if you break it down to that level. And so what the body is doing is constantly running this program. And I say that if consciousness does not override the program, in other words, if you stay only basically in the 5 sense level of awareness, which is the body level of awareness, then basically the program's running your life. We talk about synchronicity, which I very much believe in. I've experienced it endlessly myself. But I think there are two types of synchronicity. There's the synchronicity where consciousness attracts consciousness. And there's a synchronicity where programs attract programs according to the programs. And if you just let the program run you, you become like a non-player character in a virtual reality game, in the sense that the game is playing you. You're not playing the game. And this is why, when people go through this awakening process, everything changes. It's because as they expand their awareness, expand their self-identity, they start to override the program, and they start to live a different kind of life, to perceive in a different way, because now the program's not doing the perceiving, the expanding consciousness is doing the perceiving. And the reason, or a key reason, that this plan is in place to connect artificial intelligence to the human brain, which people like Ray Kurzweil at Google is talking about, will be happening from 2030. I say it's happening already. That is to, again, hold us in the program. See, if you're going to control perception, thus control behavior, then you have to control information, which forms the perception, which dictates the behavior. This is where all the censorship is coming from. It's to shut out other explanations and other possibilities which might produce different perceptions of possibility and self-identity. You don't want that. You want to control the information, so you control the perception, so you control the behavior. And what they've had to do is all the censorship, and in Britain now it's ridiculous.
I can't believe it. I never thought people getting arrested for Facebook posts, and I wonder if it's going to happen all over the world.
Yeah, they're getting arrested for memes, and memes that they've or posts that they've taken down within an hour or whatever, and they've realized, oh, no, it wasn't right, I'll take it down. They've still gone to jail because this is about intimidating people into self-censorship. And it's worked. I mean, I can see, you scan social media, you can see that with a lot of people it's worked. But this AI is to take that perception control to a completely different level, whereby they don't need to manipulate information anymore, because your perceptions will come direct from artificial intelligence.
We have only bits and pieces of information, but what we know for certain is that at some point in the early 21st century, all of mankind was united in celebration. We marveled at our own magnificence as we gave birth to AI.
AI? You mean artificial intelligence?
A singular consciousness that spawned an entire race of machines.
And so, people say, what are the solutions? And I've never really been interested in solutions, to be honest, because solutions tend to produce more problems, which demand more solutions. My approach is to say, what's the cause of the problem? What's the cause of the problem? Because if a problem is there, it must have a cause. And if it has a cause, if you take the cause away, then the problem must disappear. Literally, cause and effect. And what is the cause of the problem? It's that humans have lost the memory of their true identity. They've lost control of their own perceptions. They've lost control of their own identity. And if you look at the world and how it's manipulated, these things are the foundation of everything. It's convincing us that we are something that we're not, it's something we're just experiencing, not an I, so that we go on forgetting the true nature of the I. And those people who, see, I saw a quote the other day, which was a very, very good quote. And it was about how you don't go through an awakening, you go through a series of awakenings, right? So when COVID happened, it was a great opportunity because so many more people moved to the first stage of awakening, which is the people that I thought ran the world don't run it. And there was some global coordinating force. And unfortunately, what's happened, I've been going on about this for about a year or so now, is the alternative arena, that center of it that gets all the algorithmic support and all the financial support and promotion, has regressed and held the line like a barricade at the left-right puppet show of politics and religion and what have you. And that focus of attention by so many people who think, hey, this is the conspiracy, that process in that quote of these multiple awakenings has not happened for a lot of people. It's happened for a lot of people, yes, but not those that have focused their attention that somehow the solution to the conspiracy is whether you vote for Trump or not. And if you go through this series of awakenings, and I've experienced this, you keep breaking through these perceptual barriers, and you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the field of consciousness, and you understand more and more and more. And I think it's important to recognize that certainly while we're in this human form with all its limitations and all its manipulations, whatever we think we know at any point, there's always more to know. There's always more to know. There has to be more to know because of the limited amount that we know or think we know. And so you're constantly going through this process of, okay, I think I got this, but what don't I know? What don't I know? What don't I know? And that takes you deeper and deeper into the field of awareness. And so when I started out, the first few years after 1990 was all about how a global network of secret societies are manipulating human society. And then from about 95, 96, it went into beyond that, in the hidden, which is almost everything to human sight, of course, visible light, in the astral, as I would say, the lower levels of the astral dimension, are or is a non-human force that's manipulating human society via this network of secret societies. And then you go on from that, and from just after the turn of the millennium, I just you just know something. I just knew that this was a simulation. This was like the equivalent of a massively advanced virtual reality game, and that the human body is basically a headset. And I
believe it too.
Yeah. Well, if you, it's interesting if you go into a video platform, and you put in words to the effect of compilations of virtual reality games, you will see people, a series of compilations of people, it's actually quite funny, where they're in a room, and it might be an empty room, it might be one or two people in it, but they're in a room that they're very aware of. They're in a room, but they put their headset on, and suddenly information is being fed to their five senses, basically, through the sight senses, the hearing senses, the touch senses, whatever. And it completely, within seconds, overrides their sense of reality. So they're screaming, they're shouting, they're falling off their chair. But given it's a headset, they can do that and go, pew, it was just a game. But if the headset is actually the human body, which is constantly decoding this simulation, which I say is like, it's not a construct, it's like a Wi-Fi field. It's encoded information in like a Wi-Fi field, and we are interacting with it. So it's massively affecting our perceptions, but we're also, if you like, posting on this field our perceptions, and by that means we can change the field. But overwhelmingly, of course, the field, the simulation, impacts the other way on human perception. So what the body is doing is constantly decoding that. So if you look at even mainstream science and how the five senses work, the five senses tap into frequency wave field information. That's the simulation information field. They turn it into electrical information, they communicate it to the brain, and the brain then decodes that into a sense of reality. What I say is a digital holographic, illusory physical reality that we experience as external to us. And I grant you, that's what it looks like and feels like, but actually it's all going on in here. And one of the great things about the world that we're in there are many bad things about it in terms of technology, but one of the good things is that we now have the analogies through which we can explain what we're trying to get across in a way that people can understand, because they're interacting with the technological version of it. For me, what's happening is that the technological explosion and AI and computerization is actually a technological mirror. It's technologically mimicking the reality that we are experiencing and how we're experiencing it. So if there was Wi-Fi in this room, there's not, but if there was, then where is it? You know, you look around, you're not aware of it, you can't see it, because it's operating outside the ridiculous frequency band limits of visible light. But you get a computer and it will tap in to that Wi-Fi field, and it will decode it into what we see on the screen. So people think the internet is videos and graphics and words and what have you on the screen. Well, yes, it is, but only on the screen. Everywhere else, it's in a completely different form of information. It's a Wi-Fi field or it's electronic circuits. And if you think about it, I'm looking at the screen now, and I'm observing it. But where it's all happening is not here. It's happening inside the computer. The computer inside the computer is decoding the Wi-Fi field, or it would be if it was one here, into what I see on the screen in a completely different form. And it's the same principle in the way that we are decoding this simulated reality into what appears to be an external reality, but actually isn't. And of course, when you come into the world, you come in with a body. Let's say you come in with a headset, and that is delivering to you from the start the information from the simulation. It's delivering this small band of frequency that gives you the illusion of the world you're experiencing, which is not actually what we're experiencing. And everyone you come into contact with has a headset on because they've got a body. So your parents have got when you come out of the womb, they've got a headset on. You go to school, teachers have headsets on, your mates have headsets on, the newsreaders have headsets on, professors at university have headsets on, all your peers in the world of work have headsets on. And so they're all decoding the same basic reality, believing it to be real. And you go from womb to tomb being delivered that version of reality through information which we are decoding. And then the body ceases to function. And that's when people have near-death experiences, and it's when people, quote, die, when the body dies. So when you have all these, and I've read and watched so many of these accounts, unbelievable numbers now over the years, of near-death experiences with very, very common stories. And they talk about experiencing a completely different reality at the point of death. Why is that? It's because the body ceases to function. Your headsets cease to function. It ceases to deliver you to your consciousness, that focus of attention that it creates. It ceased to deliver you that sense of reality of the human world. And so you're released from that. It's not delivering it to you anymore. And now you are aware of a very different reality, which the astral reality that interpenetrates this one. And so awakening is awakening beyond that human program where you kind of see what the game is, and you start to see that what you perceive to be the world and reality is not like that at all. That's what this expansion of consciousness does. And one of the things I go into in the reveal at some length is I say this whole simulation doesn't just operate at the atomic matter level, which is just tiny. It's ridiculously tiny, that level we call matter in the human world. It operates in the astral dimension as well, in what we call the afterlife, the spirit world.
Jesus, a matrix in the afterlife.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is that, and I support it with evidence and people that have experienced this stuff. And what is beyond the simulation in its various levels is infinity. It's what we really are. It's the true I. But we are being trapped, and in the end, what does it come down to? Perceptually trapped in this simulation with its, well, multiple levels, but let's work on two. One is the human level, and one is the so-called afterlife level, the astral level. And then you have the wheel of samsara in the Buddhist belief, where you are
reincarnation cycle.
Yeah, you're reincarnating. Now, what happened is, again, because of this process that I constantly go through, okay, I think I know that, what don't I know? You keep moving on and you go deeper and deeper in the rabbit hole. So I reached the point where, quite a long time ago now, where I thought, yeah, reincarnation is real. The reincarnation of consciousness is real. And I present some fantastic evidence in the reveal along those lines of people that have studied reincarnation, not least with little kids who describe past lives and experiences and names and everything. And there's a guy called Ian Stevenson, an American Canadian psychiatrist who I think he was born about 1918 and died around 2007. And he made much of his career the studying of these kids in different parts of the world, and the way that he correlated their detailed descriptions of past lives by following up what they said and seeing if those people were real and if this existed. Kids in a completely different location who were describing what a house somewhere they'd never been, in this life anyway, looked like and how it was laid out. I mean, it's fantastic stuff. Anyway, I was convinced that reincarnation was real. What I was not convinced about is it's about learning lessons to evolve. I didn't buy that at all. And I think that myself, that this afterlife spirit world is part of the trap, part of the reincarnation trap, which is recycling consciousness in and out of this reality for reasons we might come to. And when I've looked at this, it's funny how, although the astral level, the spirit world level as it's perceived, is much more ethereal in terms of its energetic state, and this one the human one is incredibly dense. I've got information in there of people who've experienced the density as they come in, and my God, the common theme of how dense this reality is. We ought to be kind to ourselves. So I mean, we're walking through treacle here, energetically, but the basic dynamic is the same. So in this human world, people look to authority and experts to tell them what to think and tell them what to do and tell them how to perceive, because they have this idea that they can't know. They're an expert. They must know. He's a scientist. He must know. And so you give your power away to authority to basically tell you what to do, tell you what to think, tell you what to believe and how to live your life. There are mavericks, of course, like you and me, but they are the great majority of authority kind of basically is dictating reality.
Cheap.
And then when you leave the body, and again, I have watched and researched and read all unbelievable numbers of near-death accounts. The common themes are amazing. And again, when people leave the body and become another level of consciousness and awareness, they give their power away to another authority. It might be a spirit guide. It might be a religious hero that suddenly appears to them. And funny how Christians tend to see Jesus and others tend to see their religious heroes. They might see, quote, loved ones, or and this common theme of near-death experiences where they have the life review, where their life in the human experience is played back to them. And it's overseen by elders who kind of tend to be people in hoods and gowns and beards and old wise people, which is kind of strange in a realm where there is no aging. But of course, that's what people perceive wise people to be, to look like, and what have you. It's all perceptual manipulation. And then what happens is you are persuaded that you need to come back to pay back karma or to experience other things on your road to enlightenment. And what I found interesting is how near-death experiences, when they leave the body, they say, "I've never experienced anything like it. I'd never experienced the bliss. I never experienced this. It was just incredible." And then you say, "Well, but you believe in reincarnation, right?" And they go, "Yeah, of course I believe in reincarnation. So why have you never experienced it before?" Because you obviously have many times. So why do you think for the first time, "I've never experienced anything like this"? And that takes you to the next level. And this is all part of the trap. And that's the mind wipe, which is another constant. It's that when we come into incarnation in the human level, we go through a mind wipe, a memory wipe. So, Ian Stevenson did all this research of thousands and thousands of cases of these very young children. The memories seem to fade around the age of 7, mostly. Not always, but mostly. And in detail, what they were talking about and confirming the detail. And so there are some where the mind wipe is not total. But most people don't remember past lives because there's a mind wipe. And I say that this mind wipe continues after your consciousness leaves the body. It continues until you're back in the astral wheel of, I would say, enslavement. Your mind is still wiped. You can't remember. And one of some of the people that I quote in the reveal are people who are very rare people, although their common descriptions are very compelling, that remember the incarnation process. And first of all, it's kind of interesting when you read these near-death experience accounts and see the videos. They often talk of this astral dimension, this spirit world dimension, in almost technological terms, in almost like physical terms. And one of the things that I focus upon in a couple of chapters in the reveal is something called plasma. We think that this reality, this level of matter, is the human world. But actually, according to mainstream science, 99%, some say 99.9%, of the energetic makeup of this universe is not atomic matter at all. That's tiny. It's something called plasma, which they call the fourth state of matter. And my feeling is that this plasma is what we call the astral. So if I'm looking out now, I'm seeing a light, a wall, a picture, a computer, and in between I'm seeing empty space. But of course, we know there is no empty space. So what is that empty space? It's operating in frequencies that we cannot see. I say that's plasma, and the deeper you go into the plasma field, the deeper you go into the astral. And so we are looking at that afterlife astral level of the simulation that's vibrating in a much more refined, ethereal way. And then you enter this reality, the human world. And what these people that remember that process talk about, first of all, is the technological nature of the incarnation. Because, you know, we think of physical just being dense physical, but this astral dimension also has a form of physicality. So a lot of the AI technology that is flowing into our dimension and into our society today without any stoppages, any breakages, any periods where we've got to wait for the next level of technology to be created or discovered. It's just flowing in faster and faster and faster and faster. Nobody's sitting around a table strumming their fingers saying, well, we can't go to the next level of the control system until we've had someone invent the next level of technology. It just flows out faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, it's just leading us towards a permanent trap. I mean, do you agree? I love what you're talking about, the reincarnation trap, because I can understand, like, if you're a point of attraction, infinite consciousness, and you've already been a human being before, why would you have to reincarnate multiple times on a planet of, I guess, like 8 billion people? What is it that the source does not acquire within the first human incarnation? The fact that it has to do this all those other times, I don't understand. I'm concerned about the afterlife matrix and the one here, but I'm also trying to break out of it. Like, how do you shatter out of it? Do you, when you die, do you have to have an awareness and say, look, this is not real. I'm not playing along. How do you forcefully break away from the matrix now and away from the afterlife? And in addition, is this trap going to be permanent? Does humanity have hope for the future?
It's permanent as long as our perceptions don't change. It's permanent as long as our self-identity doesn't change. What you've just said there is very relevant, because it's one of the things that made me go in this direction, which was as I, in the last 35 years, traveled around the world. I've been in 60 odd countries. I can't go to too many now because I'm banned from loads of them, but
I can't believe it.
But anyway, that's one of the things that I thought, in terms of reincarnation. I looked at places in Africa, South America, Central America, Asia, and so on. And people aren't having a good time. They're trying to survive another day. It's a real constant challenge, a constant trauma just to get through another day, even little kids. And so I thought, I can understand why consciousness, or how consciousness could be tricked and trapped into coming into this reality once. But when you leave the body and you go into the astral reality, you would say, most people anyway, and increasingly in the West, people are having a more and more challenging time. You'd say, well, sod that for a game of soldiers. I'm not going back there. Bloody hell, it's horrible. But they do, because of this reincarnation fable that we have to keep coming in to learn more lessons. I wonder what lessons the kids in Gaza are currently learning.
I agree. Yeah.
Now, but if we take it to another level, or into another aspect of this, it will explain why the hell this is happening. Because that's another question. Obviously, okay, it's a simulation. Okay, it's this, that, yeah. Why? To what end? And I concluded quite a long time ago, from various different sources, that actually in this astral dimension, particularly in the lower levels of it, which is very close to this one, but outside of human sight, are entities that are actually behind this simulation that are feeding off low vibrational human emotion and mental states. Because, mainstream science has long understood that every time we feel an emotion and we have a thought of whatever, we are generating frequencies that relate to the nature of the emotion and the nature of the thought. So these entities, by their very nature, because of what they're doing and their state of being, are operating in a very low vibrational state. And if they're going to feed off human energy, think the Matrix and the machines, the movie, then they can only absorb low vibrational frequencies that relate to their state of being. This means that they are feeding off low vibrational human emotion around the base state of fear, anxiety, depression, conflict, war, suffering, and they have no interest whatsoever in love and joy and peace and happiness, because those frequencies are too high for them to absorb. So they've set up this this matrix, this simulation, so that they are manipulating events to ensure that human perception, emotional, mental states responding to those events, experiencing those events, are generating this low vibrational energy.
The human body generates more bioelectricity than a 120-volt battery and over 25,000 BTUs of body heat. Combined with a form of fusion, the machines had found all the energy they would ever need. There are fields, endless fields, where human beings are no longer born. We are grown. For the longest time, I wouldn't believe it. And then I saw the fields with my own eyes. Watched them liquefy the dead so they could be fed intravenously to the living. And standing there, facing the pure, horrifying precision, I came to realize the obviousness of the truth. What is the Matrix? Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world, built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
And it was in this way that I started to understand something that on the face of it is very bizarre. And that was when I started to uncover in the 1990s, early 1990s, this global cult, this network of secret societies that's actually running events behind the scenes. I found that these major players, famous people that you see on the news and what have you, were actually taking part in satanic rituals. And I mean satanic sacrifice rituals, right? So when you kind of realize that, and I've talked to many, many people around the world who've experienced them directly and seen the people involved, it's like, what? And more than that, why? And then you look back into the ancient world and you see that the ancients in all these different societies around the world were sacrificing people, young virgins often, code for children, to the gods. And then you think, okay, well, who are these people today sacrificing people to, including children, by the way? well, to their gods. And then you realize that we're talking the same gods. They give them different names in different, cultures around the world or whatever, but they're the same gods. You see this pantheon of gods. We talk about the Greek pantheon, etc., of gods, but they're all over the world. There are these pantheons of gods. And you, in the ancient world, they openly sacrificed the people to the gods because that was acceptable to them. But now it's done in very strict secrecy for obvious reasons. We've grown up to that extent. And then you say, well, okay, they're making sacrifices to the gods as a gift to the gods. What do the gods get out of it? And then because of this understanding of the nature of what these entities are feeding off, things start to make sense. What they're doing in these rituals, ancient and modern, are taking the sacrificial person, shall we say, through an experience that generates maximum terror. And terror is a phenomenally powerful, low vibrational energy. And so if you see someone in an emotional state or an agitated mental state, you can see by their body language that they are emotional and they're having a bad time or whatever, or they're angry or they're sad. But you can't see the energy coming off them. You can't see the frequencies coming off them from that emotion and from that mental state, because that's an astral phenomenon. And so in this astral dimension, as the people are put through these rituals, these sacrificial rituals, the terror is being absorbed as a frequency by these gods, by these entities, not gods really. And that's the offering to the gods. And then the terror leads to an adrenaline entering the blood, and that's why you have the blood drinking in the sacrificial rituals by the people in our dimension that are conducting them. It's a kind of a drug to them. Adrenochrome is one expression of it. And so I remember concluding all this, that this was concluding from many different sources. And then I came across the Robert Monroe material. Robert Monroe, you absolutely know, I'm sure. He kind of popularized out-of-body experiences where instead of having the body die and the consciousness is released, it's the ability to project your consciousness into the astral while still in a human body. And he became very proficient at it, and the CIA became interested, to say the least, and they started a project called the Gateway Project, or the Gateway Process, whereby they brought people in who were gifted in this astral projection, as it's called. And then they did this study on what they experienced in the astral dimension. And what Monroe said, which of course made my ears rather prick up because of what I researched before, is that he learned from these astral projections that there are entities in the astral that are feeding off low vibrational human energy. He called it loosh, gave the name loosh. It's widely used now.
Yes.
What is that?
It has many names. Regenex, Resell, Nectar. There are various levels of usefulness and quality, but this is the most pure and most valuable solution made by the House of Brassix.
Kalik came out of a bath.
Naturally, my sister didn't explain what it is or where it comes from. It comes from people. Each unit is refined from approximately 100 human beings.
What?
Your planet is a farm, Jupiter. There are thousands of planets like yours set up by families like mine to supply an ever-increasing demand for more time.
You say you killed 100 people to make this?
Not me, but Yes, someone did. Not like butchering a herd of cattle.
They came across the different people in this Gateway project. So many reptilian type entities in the astral that they gave them the name the alligators in the CIA project, and so it starts to make sense, and it starts to expand the nature, the true nature of the conspiracy of human enslavement. Because, like I said earlier, what's happened since COVID is there's been a hijack of the alternative media, which has built a barricade, which has got all the focus around politics and religion. And that's what gets all the attention. And instead of what was realized before, that we live in one-party states where the same force is manipulating through both left and right, it's regressed into right-wing politics. Basically, that's what the alternative media, especially in America now, is. It's right-wing politics around the whole hero of Trump, and all these AI people like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, etc. But when you're talking about what we're talking about here, you see the level of the conspiracy that is. It's nowhere near what we need to grasp to see the scale, not only the scale and nature of the control, but how we can release ourselves from it. And so the focus of attention is Trump is the savior, etc., when actually the real conspiracy is that the very nature of our reality is being scammed, so that we think we're experiencing a particular reality and we're not. We're thinking that the point of the conspiracy is Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum or Bill Gates, when it's actually a non-human force in the astral.
I've been wanting to ask you about the non-human force, because I've been following your work for years, and does not surprise me that other entities, especially the ones you described, are feeding off human emotions. As a matter of fact, I think that sometimes people get provoked emotionally in their own minds in order to become a quick meal for these beings. The thing that makes me absolutely crazy, David, is that why isn't there a counterforce or a counterbalance out there? Why is there a lower vibrational frequency beings, all these dark entities, a lot of them mess with human beings, yet where is the higher vibrational frequency beings? Do they have any interest? I mean, does Source, the all infinite encompassing being, a point of attraction, why would it allow parts of its own consciousness to be trapped into this reality, to be tormented? Does it not love itself enough to allow a counterbalance to these dark beings? Because the way it seems like right now, it's like these dark beings, they're manipulating people. It seems like they're going a lower vibrational frequency. I feel like humans are getting stupider, and in conjunction with their stupidity, I think they're getting more evil. They're just becoming less empathetic. I've never been in a world before where I see so many people care so little, and the ones that do care, I mean, I look at them like precious gold. So I'm just curious if you've ever come across a counterforce to push back against this evil.
That's a great question, and I think that this COVID jab and the self-replicating nanotechnology that's been very clearly seen in really powerful electron microscopes in the blood, that is having an impact on human perception. It's having an impact on human empathy. I mean, it's some of the things that are going on here with knife crime in Britain is unbelievable. I mean, people are being, same in America. They're being
Crazy.
they're being knifed for no reason than they were there at the time. And so we are going through this extraordinary inversion of human consciousness. It's actually going the other way in many people. But in others, it's expanding and expanding. What I would say is, if you take the analogy of a light, the further you travel from the light, the less light there is, until you're so far away from the light that it's basically not impacting upon your reality. And in frequency terms, I say that's where we are. You know, if you take the highest level of consciousness, what some people call God, I call the infinite, then that level of awareness, that all-knowing level of awareness, all that is, has been, and ever can be, this reality in frequency terms is an enormous distance from that sense of reality. And I was going to say earlier, you know, when you, and I've quoted them in the reveal, you talk to these people or hear them tell their story of remembering the incarnation process. The common theme is, first of all, that when they enter this realm, they go through this mind wipe. Doesn't work for everybody, but it works for the vast majority. And someone I quote in the book actually remembers going through this. She described it as like a net, like an electromagnetic net. And when you go through it, it wipes the minds of people who enter, wipes the memories. But the reason I'm mentioning this is the common theme, or one common theme, is just how bloody dense this reality is. I mean, there was one guy that I quote where he's saying it's like you go lower, 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 and then you go lower, 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 lower still, until it's almost impossible to experience it. It's so dense compared with where you've come in from. And that density makes it very difficult to connect. It doesn't make it impossible, absolutely not, but it makes it much more difficult to connect with that expanded level of awareness that people call God, because the frequency is so low and so dense, and so in frequency terms far away from that all-knowingness. And so if the all-knowingness dropped its frequency to enter this reality, it might think it's Bill driving a bus or Ethel on the checkout, because it will have entered that level of density where that is reality. So it's basically it's two forces. It's that which is lowering its frequency as much as possible to connect with us, and we expanding our awareness enough to connect with that. And once that connection is made, you are in this world, but you're not of it. Your perceptions change because you're now accessing that level of awareness that sees the bloody game, that knows what's going on. And therefore, because you're tapping into it, you know what's going on. And so when we talk about a spiritual awakening, it's basically two things. It's a frequency expansion through a perceptual self-identity expansion. But it's a perceptual expansion, and it's a deprogramming expansion. It's like, you know, I've used this analogy many times before, a long time ago now. If you get a ball on the top of a tank of water, that's its natural state. It floats on the water. To put it in an unnatural state, you have to push the ball down to the bottom, and you have to hold it there. You can't let go, because its natural state is it's at the top of the water again. It's on the surface again. So you have to hold it there and keep it there, to keep it in an unnatural state. And human consciousness in this reality is in an unnatural state. And one of the things that tells you the true power of human consciousness, human awareness, is the unbelievable multiple levels and ways in which they suppress our consciousness. It's a constant onslaught from cradle to grave to put us in a unnatural, myopic, groupthink state of awareness. And they have to keep going. They can't stop, because if they stop, the ball's at the top of the water. So our natural state is beyond this realm, and we're held in this unnatural state. And the unnatural state is held through control of perception and control of self-identity. And if we just break those two entrapments, and you see, one of the greatest ways of controlling perception is to control the perception of the possible. Because if you can squeeze the sense of the possible, then when people come along and say, hey, this is what's going on and this is who you really are, that sense of the possible says, don't be ridiculous, that's not possible. And therefore they dismiss it. And all the time, this is why mainstream science is so unbelievably ridiculously limited and so focused on the atomic matter level of reality, which is this tiny smear within the plasma field. It's all about holding our attention in the myopia. And we have the power not to do that. We have the power to say, hold on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a blank sheet of paper and I'm going to start again. And this is what I did in 1990, really, when I think about it, is I thought, okay, all these things are going on, this religion, this science, that science, all this academia, I'm going to start again. And what goes on that blank sheet of paper has to earn its place with evidence and with tangible things, as well as things that you just kind of, once you tap into them, you kind of know things. My experience over the last 35 years has been basically knowing something, just knowing it, and then the tangible names, dates, places, supporting evidence for that following immediately afterwards. And because if you, and this is capable of anyone, this is not cross-legged on a mountain, this is anyone can do this, as long as they release themselves from the perceptual programmed prison that they have been inducted into since the moment they entered the world, and just say, okay, I'm not going to dismiss anything. I'm going to put all my belief systems aside, and I'm going to let evidence and my own knowing be my guide, without being influenced by all these belief systems that I've been brought up with. For instance, I mean, to show very clearly that we don't reach our own conclusions overwhelmingly, which we have the ability to do, is that if you're born in India, you'll almost certainly be brought up as a Hindu. If you're born in the southern states of America, you're very likely to be a Christian. If you're born in Italy, you're likely to be a Roman Catholic. If you're born in the Middle East, you're almost certainly going to be a Muslim. Now, that doesn't mean, therefore, that you have looked at all the evidence and come to your unique conclusion. It means you've been impacted in your belief, your rigid, unquestioning belief often, by the environment that you were brought up in and all the information you've received during your life. And that's not a blank sheet of paper, that's a program. People who are now avid Christians in the southern states of America, if they'd been born in the Middle East, they'd be avid Muslims. this groupthink, this belief system, this addiction to belief systems is what is holding us in this myopic sense of reality and holding us in the trap. If we just put all that aside. I know that's your belief and that's your belief, but no, hold on. I'm going to decide myself. And I'm going to be dispassionate in the way I do it. I'm not going to let all of these influences. I'm going to say, okay, what feels right to me? What evidence supports what feels right to me? And then we become our own uniqueness, because we live in ultimately infinity. And infinity is all possibility. So to celebrate uniqueness is to celebrate our part in an infinite all possibility. Groupthink is, I must think like everyone else thinks. And anyone that doesn't think like this is a blasphemer, or they're stupid, or they're a pseudoscientist. And it's this human need, quite possibly through a sense of insecurity and a sense of fear. It's this human need to be part of something when we're actually part of infinity, but to be part of something in the human world. And so you self-censor, or you follow belief systems, because that keeps you in the groupthink, that keeps you in the group, it keeps you in the tribe. Whereas, I don't know about you, mate, but I suspect I know the answer. But for me, all my life, I've never wanted to join groups. I've never wanted to be in a tribe. I've always wanted to walk my own path and come to my own conclusions. And when you do that, as you well know, it's a completely different way of looking at the world and perceiving the world. And you see things that others don't see, not because you're better than them, but because you are less myopic than them in their sense of reality, in your sense of reality.
Yeah, the tyranny of collectivism, and feel the same way you do. And David, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. I love the interviews that we do. I just think that you always share some really great perspectives, deep perspectives, ones that are not being presented. They're very empowering. And I want to remind everyone that David's got a new book, The Reveal, The Next Stage of Human Awareness. His website is davidicke.com. And David, it's been an honor to know you over the years. And should I not be able to break out of this reincarnation trap, I would be fantastic to reincarnate with you, future life incarnations, and continue standing and fighting a great fight.
Hey, I'm not coming back.
Oh, I don't want to come back either. So
no, I'm off to infinity. I'll meet you there, Ryan.
Oh, sounds great. David, thank you so much.
Life is an act of consumption, Jupiter. To live is to consume. Now the human beings on your planet are merely a resource waiting to be converted into capital. And this entire enterprise is just a small part in a vast and beautiful machine defined by evolution, designed to a single purpose: to create profit.